Dang, Randy, you got too many pigeons.
Okay, let's collector on the corner. We're gonna do a video today. It ain't gonna be a pigeon video. It's gonna be a garden video. But anyway, the garden ain't too good this year. What happened this year? It started out and it stayed too cold and too wet for way too long. I planted my potatoes early, and they grew up, and something was eating them off. And I got a 6-foot chain link fence around this little spot. It turned out what Debbie calls teenager rabbits was crawling through the chain link fence. And they was digging in my hay I had my potatoes covered with and digging down there and chewing on the seed potatoes.
Yep.
And they've chewed the potatoes off and this and that. I planted this corn. And I would plant corn. And in between every stalk of corn, I'd plant a bean. And all around there, one place I planted a whole bunch of peas between the corn. And it was too dry. It already started, so I was watering it. It was coming up because I watered it every day. And them rabbits I didn't realize them rabbits was as bad as they was. They was still getting in here, and they ate every bean. They ate a lot of the corn. So I had to replant it. It's all different heights.
Yeah, I see it.
That over there is some of the first I planted.
Yep, I see it.
I planted some in with it. It's got some, there's some sunflowers growing over there along the edge of this old root cellar. But that's already starting to tassel out.
Yeah, I see it.
And make silks. So I got to water it every day because right now is when it starts filling that ear.
Yep.
And some of this is even right here. Listen here.
Yeah, I see the. I see it.
And I plant it real thick. And I've got up in there, I've got some of the beds I've been watering. I got a bunch of that Dallas grass growing.
Yeah,
but that ain't gonna hurt it.
I hate Dallas grass.
Ain't gonna hurt it. So what I wound up doing was all the way around the bottom of this.
Yep.
I had to build a rabbit-proof fence. I had quite a bit of that plaster lath that they put on the walls when they're going to put that plaster on there, that expanded metal, fine mesh. I used all that up. And then I was getting over refrigerator grates and pieces of wire and whatever. I didn't go buy nothing, but I finally got it fixed for the rabbits. Wasn't in here. And I was having a little bit of rat trouble. And I had been using this bucket right here. I made that hole bigger where it's easier for a rat to get in there. And what I was putting in there, if I can get it out, was just one bite rat poison. And it was killing them. The trouble was, a mouse would get poisoned. He'd get out there, and my Lujan brown chickens would find that sick mouse and eat it. They'd fight over it. We caught them with chickens and with a mouse carrying around fighting over it. And got away from them, but a few of them died, and I think I ate a poisoned mouse. And we got on the internet there, and they talked about mixing cornmeal and baking soda. And we've been doing that, and it seems to be working. But most everything it's too dry right now. I've been watering this.
Yeah, it is.
But if you look right here.
Dry.
This is raised bed.
Yeah, I see it.
That's good dirt.
I see it.
That's good dirt. But it's dry because I ain't been watering it. I planted some kale lettuce in there and it didn't crumb up.
No, it
And for
didn't.
some reason, this tomato plant's all curled up. This one ain't doing just as good as it wanted to. I didn't buy no commercial fertilizer this year. I found I had a little bit of that miracle grow left. I've been miracle growing that thing. Maybe that's what's wrong. This one here seems to be all right.
Yeah, I see it.
This one's got little tomatoes on it.
Yeah, I see them. I see them.
But you can see that corn there. It's, some of it's 8 foot tall.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
tall.
I had to put some steel rebar in the ground and tie my
Sunflowers, yeah.
sunflowers to it. They got the ground, being by the water, got soft and they so big they fell over. And that's what little bit of sweet potatoes I got. At the far end over there where it's pretty thick and the grass has grown in it, them was from the potatoes themselves. These down on this end was the slips. I had a whole lot more, but the rabbits and rats ate them off and they disappeared. So mostly the slips didn't make it. So I just went ahead, it's up in here, so I just went ahead and planted that corn. But anyway, the garden pretty much going to be a failure this year.
Oh.
There, I got a squash.
Yay!
Debbie can fry that for my breakfast.
I sure
Tell
can.
them how you fry it, Debbie.
Just fry it.
You just slice it up and egg batter it.
And
Okay.
flour it,
Well,
and
I may not know that.
I cook it in bacon grease and oil, vegetable oil.
Yeah, well, I got a tractor story. It's not really funny. My daddy had an old 44 M Farmall. Had a home built 3-point hitch on it. Wheel weights on the back. Didn't have no water in rear tires, but it had oversized tires on it, 15.5 38s. And when he was in his 40s, he was in a construction accident and he broke his pelvis. And it was hard for him to climb on and off that tractor. And he had a bunch of logs back there cut. And he was skidding them logs. He skid about 2 of them logs at a time. And I wasn't doing nothing. Hadn't went back to work in the spring. Road construction I was working in that hadn't started up. I hadn't went back to run that old bulldozer. So I was back there hooking them logs for him. And he'd back up, I'd hook them up for him. He'd go on up there where we was skidding them up to, and I'd unhook them. Well, I was walking back down there to them logs and was some logs cut in the woods. You know, there's different places around the woods. And I tripped and fell over something. And before I could get up, he was looking off the other way. That back tire come up, went right up both legs, right over. He stopped right here on my shoulder. And I could see him up on the tractor. He looked down at me and he was wider than that piece of metal right there. And I could see him out of that one eye. And I looked at him, I said, I'm all right, but go ahead and pull off of me. He said, you sure you want me to do that? I said, yeah, I'll go get a jack. I said, don't feel no good sitting here. You pull off of me. So he pulled off of me. And first thing I did, I got up.
Hey, you forgot where he...
Well, I got up and I went on down there, and there was a little creek down there with a little spring, and I went down there to that spring. I was down there at the spring drinking water, and he said, you're not all right, you're busted up inside wanting water. I said, no, Daddy, I got dirt in my mouth. And the ground was wet. Just so happened that we was down close to that little spring, and the ground was wet right there, and it pushed me into the ground more than it did anything else. Mm-hmm. And that old tractor, M Farmall, weighs 5,000 pounds. Is what it weighs. But of course, I didn't have 5,000 pounds on me. I only had one back tire. And I think I was a little skinny back then. I was real young before our second son was ever even born. And I was real skinny back then. and I think that wide 15.5 tar kind of helped because I was skinnier than that tar. I wasn't 15 inches wide. I didn't weigh but 100 pounds. I was just a little bitty skinny back in them days. Anyway, but I got run over by a farm old tractor. Well, I had my pickup back there. I got my pickup and I drove to the house. I went down there and milked the cow that night. The next day, I couldn't get out of bed. I was bruised, and Debbie said, "You sure you ain't got any broken bones?" I said, "Yeah, I got in the bathtub and submerged real good, and I didn't bubble nowhere. I'm pretty sure I ain't got no broke bones." And she said, "What?" And I said, "Well, you get a broke bone, it'll bubble." I don't know how I come up with that theory, but it's probably just bull. But I didn't think I had any broke bones, but. So I laid around there for 2 weeks, and I was just sore and didn't want to move, wasn't doing nothing hardly. I got called to go back to work. So I crawled up on that old bulldozer, and I was wearing cowboy boots, and the way it run over me, it sprained both ankles. And there's two pedals on that old dozer, and I couldn't put no pressure. I walked real slow because my ankles hurt. I couldn't hardly put no pressure on them pedals to turn that thing. But they had steering clutches too. So what I'd do is I'd get my load around on one corner of the blade. I was a good enough operator. I'd get my load on one corner of the blade and work around her and really not have to do much in them steering clutches. And that decelerator pedal, I didn't use that decelerator. I just let that sucker run wide open. Power shift, I'd shift from first to second, reverse, whatever. I'd lug that thing down when I went to change gears. I'd put that blade. But I got by and them ankles got better, and I never did go to the doctor or nothing over being compressed by a tractor a little bit. But anyway, I know this video won't get a lot of views or nothing like that, but it's part of what we do, and I wanted to show it. And everything's late this year. Last year, this time, them sunflowers was this big around the heads of them.
I know. They look pretty.
Yeah, just the conditions were just poor for gardening. And we're in a pretty severe drought right now.
Yep.
And if it don't rain pretty soon, what I'm going to have to do, we got that other place, it's 14 acres over there. And I had cows there. And the grass just growed up good there. What I'm going to have to do is take my tractor and mowing machine and mow about 30 feet. Take my pickup and take a pitchfork and fork it full of fresh green cut stuff and bring back here to feed my sheep.
There's plenty of green grass alongside the highway. We'll just turn them out.
Oh, you gonna run electric wire right along the edge of the highway?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah, well, that'd be all right. One other thing I was going to talk about, I use hay in my garden. Use it for the mulch. There's a potato.
Uh-huh. I see
it. Don't look too good.
Well, that's because the sheep got in here the other day.
For mulch. Rotted hay. I try to plant my Irish potatoes using what they call a roost out method.
Uh-huh.
Well, there's this big gas station here, and there was 3 big gas tanks over there, diesel and 2 gas tanks. And they moved them out, and there was a footing there with a concrete bottom in it. It's to catch that any gas would spill or anything. It was up to them, EPA standards. Well, that footing wasn't doing nothing there. And it sit there, and they knocked one wall down when they removed the tanks. So I went putting dirt in there. I put a load of sand in there and compost and good dirt and everything, and I filled that up with dirt and, rotted sawdust and whatnot. And I had a pretty good little garden spot growing inside there. It was done real good. And this nice lady, she gave me a barn full of donkey and horse manure. just to clean it out. All I'd do, and I'd go over in my pickup, and I'd shovel pickup load, and I'd take it over there, and I'd put it all over that garden that fall. And I tilled it in, and I thought, boy, I'm really doing something real wonderful. The next spring, I went to planting stuff. The only thing that come up and lived was the corn. Every broadleaf, squash, cucumber, bean, anything like that, that wouldn't come up and die if it come up at all. And what it was, she was buying this expensive hay up there from Orchland that's 100% pure Bermuda. High dollar hay. Paying like $8, $9 a bale when you buy it out here out of the field for $3 a bale. And what it is, that hay had been sprayed with herbicide. And I carried that herbicide back to my garden spot and runned it, and all it'll grow now is Bermuda grass. That's what's in it right now. So if you're going to use hay for mulch or in your garden, be sure you get it from a field that ain't been sprayed. If it ain't got weeds and all different kinds of stuff in it, you don't want it put in your compost heap. So I guess we'll end the video on that, and we'll say goodbye and good luck to you. And I ain't had my breakfast yet. Maybe I'll get Debbie to cook this for me. I got some eggs yesterday, so she can have a homegrown breakfast that I growed myself. I ain't gonna have many homegrown meals this year.
Thank you all, and please like and subscribe. Bye.